What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so look, one of the things that I know gets on my nerves and gets on nerves of fans of basketball of I guess, depending upon your age, the 70s, the 80s, and 90s. In particular, the 80s and 90s into the 2000s, because oftentimes that was considered the upswing or the pinnacle of NBA basketball, the most successful player basketball. One thing that gets on our nerves is how a lot of fans and even players today love to say disrespectful things about prior eras just to prop up the players of today. And what really gets on my nerves is how when a player or fan of the players of that era, or past player, I should say, whenever they say something to defend themselves or they start clapping back, then all of a sudden they'll start saying, and when I say they, I mean the younger crowd or the media will then accuse them of hating. For instance, Steph Curry just recently said that he believes that today's NBA is the most skilled in NBA history, right? And there was no pushback behind that. People just said it, they just agreed with it as if it's fact. A lot of us don't agree with that, okay? Recently, Dominique Wilkins, NBA Hall of Famer, Atlanta Hawks great, pushed back on all of the disrespect that many people today have toward his era. He said, quote, in an interview with the X-Sports Insider, "One thing about me, I always give credit where it's due, but I wish these young guys would stop using us as a punching bag to prove their point. Being a part of history is the most meaningful thing because we all grew up wanting to be like someone. So we have to have that respect." And, that was a part of a larger interview, but I wanted to focus on that point of it. And he's absolutely correct, man. I don't like it myself. I don't like it when somebody like Patrick Beverley will say something asinine like Kevin Durant would average 50 in the 80s. Because what you're generally telling me is, you fucking moron, who wouldn't even be in the league in the 80s. What you're telling me is that Kevin Durant is significantly more explosive and better than Michael Jordan, who averaged 37 points per game in the 80s. So you're telling me that somehow Kevin Durant would do what Wilt did in the 60s and the 80s, when they weren't even taking three-point shots like that. And quite frankly, if Kevin Durant was playing in that era, I'm pretty sure coaches would try to make him play power forward, and his game would have been a little different anyway. I just think the way that he played, but whatever, man. It's just a deep rabbit hole you go down when you make some of these comparisons because of the way basketball was played back then. But it's so disrespectful. He can't even do it now. He can't even average 30 in this era. And by the way, just to prove a point of mine that today's era is easier to score than any other. Well, I shouldn't say any other, but it's easier to score. Well, probably it is easier to score than any other. If you look at KD's numbers after the Achilles rupture versus before, after the Achilles rupture, even Dominique Wilkins didn't do this, by the way, after his Achilles rupture. Do you know that KD is shooting a higher percentage from overall and from three and from the free throw line and averaging more points per game after an Achilles rupture than he did before when he was in his prime? If that don't tell you how easy it is to score in this era. Oh, by the way, if you didn't catch my video from a couple of days ago, They just did something else for these young players. Now, when they take half-court shots, if they miss, it's not going to count against their field goal percentage. If they make it, it counts for them. But if they miss, it doesn't. And we know they're going to miss probably 80 to 90% of those shots. So now you're going to see a whole bunch of half-court heaves. Adam Silver is ruining the NBA, man. I know I shouldn't have segued totally into that, but I'm just getting irritated at the fact that you got these players keep trying to sell me and sell you that today's game is so much better when we can look at this shit and we know it's not. Why do you think people are watching highlights? People aren't, for the most part, knocking down their fucking door to watch some of these games. They're not. They much rather watch a condensed, video of highlights. When we were growing up, the NBA on CBS, which I caught the tail end of, the NBA on NBC, that was must-see TV. We couldn't wait to watch those games. The way those games were advertised, David Stern was not perfect. There are a lot of things about David Stern I didn't like. But as a commissioner, David Stern was the best commissioner in the history of the NBA. And he blows Adam Silver out of the water. It's like comparing Abraham Lincoln to Joe Biden or something. There's no comparison. No respect for this dude. And he's an advertising executive who really doesn't know the game. He's about gimmicks and shit, He's about the numbers and money. That's all he cares about. He don't give a shit if he's screwing up the game. But anyway, that's all I got to say about it, man. That's all I got to say about it. Tell me what you guys think.